Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's webinar. My name is Steve Hess. I'm the Director of User Experience for OpenBOM. I'd like to welcome you all. This is episode number 30 in our weekly webinars. Today's topic is creating a multi-level bills of material. I'm going to break this up into two sessions. Part one is going to be the basics, and in part two we'll cover a little bit more advanced multi-level. We'll do that next week. So. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody for joining, and if you have any questions along the way, please shoot them off to support@openbom.com. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to cover a little bit of webinar basics here. Everybody is muted. If you're watching this on replay, of course, that doesn't matter. You can send your questions in to me. I think I've got the kinks of the new webinar tool worked out, and we will be sharing the deck as well as a recording of this webinar out on our website once we're done. And time is of the essence. I'm always want to keep this to 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes ideally. Okay, a couple of definitions. I'm going to let you read most of these, but I do want to touch on multi-level BOM, which is what we're focusing on today. Multi-level BOM is a bill of material that has some organized structure. In the past, we might have called these product structure BOMs. Maybe called them indented or parent-child BOMs. It's just important to note that in OpenBOM, a multi-level BOM has structure, and that those sub-assemblies in the BOM are BOMs themselves. So it's sort of a structure of bills of material. We're going to cover that. You can read through some of the others here yourself. Let's take a look at what a well-organized multi-level BOM will look like. This is what we're going to be targeting at the completion of this webinar. We're going to have a bill of material that has kind of a level indicator over here on the left. It's going to have some plus minus plus minus icons here, so you can expand and close the structure. And then we're going to see this is just going to look like what you would expect a product structure to look like. I also want to point out there's some UI that's specific to multi-level. We're going to cover that in a little more detail in just a minute. But this is what the goal is for the end of the webinar. Okay, let's just hit some multi-level BOM basics. I know everyone's probably familiar with a bicycle product structure, so this is a very simple multi-level BOM. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to build something like this, but for a skateboard in today's examples. But a multi-level BOM is a connected series of individual, and that should say bills of material. They don't have to be single level, so they can be other connected BOMs. We can create multi-level BOMs in a number of different ways. We're going to focus on the second one here in this webinar, simply typing it in on the fly. We are going to also we're going to organize a single level BOM into a multi-level BOM. OpenBOM also handles imports from Excel, and we bring in CAD product structure and things. Those are out of scope for this webinar. There's plenty of other webinars on those. And there's a couple of other functions that we're going to touch on having to do with properties and cost roll-up and restructuring. And we'll show that in a little more detail in just a minute. We're going to take a look at something called Flatten. And Flatten is a special operation within multi-level BOMs. OpenBOM analyzes your multi-level structure, and it's sometimes referred to as a quantity report. So if you've got screws at this level and that level in different places in the BOM, the same screw will be rolled up, and we'll be able to identify that you've got 3 here and 2 there. Well, there's 5 total screws are required in this whole BOM structure. And we do some other things to line up levels and columns to make it more readable. So let's take a little more of a deeper dive into the multi-level UI. There's something up here called the switcher. This will let us switch from single, multi, and flatten. If you're ever not seeing the thing on the screen that you're expecting, in other words, you're looking at your BOM and you're thinking, wow, I thought I'm supposed to have plus signs here so I can expand these levels. Chances are that you're in single level, and you just need to look up here and switch to multi-level. You'll probably see me do it a couple of times during the webinar today, as well as make other mistakes since we're going to be working in real time. The other UI components that are important are the 5 arrows across the top up here and in multi-level. And they are if I select an item on my BOM, I can move it up and down in the structure. That's pretty straightforward. And the left and right arrows actually move the indentation level, so you can move P200 underneath P100 in the structure by using the right arrow. Finally, then there's another arrow here for just adding a new item, keying it in. We're going to do a lot of keying in of a BOM here in just a moment, so you'll see that. All right, the case study that we're going to look at today is for the Malibu Skate House. That's a store that's near my home in California. And we're going to look at, in our lesson today, we're going to look at creating a simple multi-level BOM and just kind of reveal, how does the multi-level BOM in OpenBOM work. And then I'm going to move this building a multi-level BOM from a catalog. I'm going to move that out to the second webinar in the interest of time. But everything that you learned today will apply to this using a catalog. But we'll deal with that on the next one. And of course, we're going to talk about flatten and formulas. And then the question that comes up most often in multi-level, especially with new users, is how do I roll up cost? How do I find out what the cost of my whole skateboard is if I know the cost of all the bits and pieces, especially if it's organized into a structure? So we're going to be doing that. And by the way, for those of you that are fans of movies from the 80s, OpenBOM is a rad set of tools. Okay. All right, we're going to, I'm going to jump in right now to start doing some live work on the screen. And like I said, you'll see me making typos and other things since this is live, so just kind of bear with me. But again, I'm going to keep an eye on the time. So let's go ahead and sign into OpenBOM. I'm sitting at the OpenBOM dashboard, and I've got a couple of things prepared for the webinar. But I'm basically sitting in a new, as if I was in a new account. Okay, so we're going to start by first creating a new bill of material and adding some parts and pieces in there. We're going to be, since we are the Malibu Skate House, we're going to create a bill of material for our new skateboard. And I want to make sure that this is just doesn't have any catalogs or templates or anything else we're creating a brand new, the simplest bill of material that we can create in OpenBOM. Use the create BOM dialog, type in a name, that's it. And we're presented with the OpenBOM create BOM UI, and we're going to start typing stuff in. And I'm thinking about my skateboard in my head. What's it going to have? It's going to have some things. It's going to have a deck, and this is going to be the 32-inch wood deck. I'm going to add a couple of other parts. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to knock in some blank lines here for a few of the other things. I know I'm going to have some wheels, and these are going to be red wheels. And I'm going to have a couple of axles. And finally, I'm going to have some grip tape that we're going to put on top. And this is going to be, my description is going to be tape, and these are going to be the trucks, 10-inch trucks. Okay. All right. So these are the basic components of my skateboard. I like to work kind of left to right as we go through this, and I'm going to say, look, I know I'm going to have one deck. Feels like I'm going to have 4 wheels. I know I'm going to need 2 axles. And I think for that, I'm going to need 2.3 feet of grip tape. And I'll put in some costs. Grip tape is 99 cents. We're going to get these axles for $7 a piece. Wheels are $2.50 a piece. And the deck we're going to run here is $12.95. Okay. And then finally, we want to compute the extended cost. We're going to use the edit formula command here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on formulas, but you're going to see this. There's a whole entire webinar on that. Cost times quantity. And we've got some costs calculated. I'm going to turn on for the extended comment, say enable roll up totals. That's something that you need to do for each column that you're going to roll up. And then go ahead and turn on display the totals row. Here we go. Okay, so here we know that our here's a BOM. It's still single level, by the way. There's no structure yet. Here's a BOM for our skateboard. We could use the commands here to bring in some images and fill this out. And I'm not going to do that in today's webinar, but I could easily throw in some images there, maybe off the internet or something from my catalogs. So Okay, so we've got that, and let's say we get a better price on wheels, and we can see that we make a change here, the extended cost adjust, price goes down. Maybe likewise we get a better price on grip tape, and we can see that we adjust the cost on grip tape, and maybe we're making a little bit longer one, so we adjust what we need here and we calculate that up. So what we've got here is a BOM that it's got all my bits and pieces, it calculates properly, and I get my total cost. Okay, that's pretty useful. But now, if I want to organize this in with some structure that starts to mimic a little bit more of my manufacturing process, and you'll see what I mean here in just a moment. Thinking back to kind of that bicycles picture that we had, think about our skateboard as kind of having a deck assembly, and then everything kind of flowing down from that. So I'm just going to start with this bill of material. Maybe this is fine. I've been building these in my organization. But I want to start tracking things with a little more detail. So let's kind of think of what's one of the first things we're going to have. Well, we're probably going to have a deck assembly. So I'm going to add something here, and I'm going to call this my deck assembly. And okay, my deck assembly. So what belongs under my deck assembly? Well, probably the deck. So I'm going to switch over here to multi-level, start working in multi-level mode. You see now the multi-level UI shows up. I've got the multi-level switcher set to multi-level. I'm going to grab this deck here. I'm going to move this up a little bit, and I'm going to use this right arrow here to put that down under my deck assembly. Okay, so what just happened? We did our first multi-level kind of activity. We moved the deck up and we dropped it under deck assembly. Well, we saw some structure started to appear. I got a plus sign over here for deck assembly, and I now start to have this structure in my BOM. Okay, well that's kind of cool. I think grip tape probably belongs under there as well. Okay, let me get that little, there we go. Refresh my browser. I had a little something left over there. Okay, so so we've got a deck assembly. We've got a little structure. That's pretty cool. Let's do maybe the same thing with a truck assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and add another item here. I'm going to call that, and truck and axle are the same thing, sort of in skateboard vernacular. I'm going to create a truck assembly, and I'm going to push it down. I got to click the right button here. I'm going to push it down here and now move the axle underneath it and the wheels underneath that. Okay, so that's starting to kind of look like my structure. What I'd like to do right now is jump back to our dashboard and take a look and see what has happened, because all of a sudden we see that truck and deck have now become bills of material in OpenBOM. As a matter of fact, let's open one of these up and see what it looks like. The truck assembly has axle and wheels in it, and you can see that these are highlighted. That's because I'm in this BOM in another structure. So let's think about that. So we just added axle and wheels to truck assembly. OpenBOM created for me on the fly a bill of material called truck assembly and put in it axle and wheels. So these are standalone bills of material that can be reused now in other skateboard designs. So one of the purposes and one of the benefits of starting this organization is that I now start to have a single place, let's say for that truck assembly, or a single deck assembly that I can use in other designs. So let's kind of, let's carry this a little bit further. Let's start kind of working that, that left to right. I've got a deck assembly. I've got a truck assembly. I do need to make a few changes now, because my truck assembly is only going to have, for each one of them, is only going to have one axle. It's going to have, each one's going to have two wheels. So as we start to, for some reason I didn't type that in. There we go. We see now that those are adjusting. I've got one axle, $7. I've now got two wheels. I've got a truck assembly. How many truck assemblies do I have? How many truck assemblies am I going to have on my board? Well, I think I'm going to have 2 of those. Okay, so that cleans up that error calculation. The reason I'm getting this error calculation is because I don't have a quantity here. And the deck assembly, I'm going to have one of those. Okay, so we see that we arrived back at the same cost that we had before, but we've now got a little more organization into our bill of material. So that now lets us do some things. You know, like I said, I can start to analyze and manufacture maybe individual truck assemblies on their own. Maybe I've got somebody in charge of building a deck assembly. Maybe I want to start, calculating, the labor or something that might go into that. Let's go ahead and add another item down here for labor. I'm going to push this one down and put that under my truck assemblies. And I know that it takes 0.15 of an hour to put together that truck assembly. And I need to make sure I start from the top for my formulas. There we go. Okay. All right, and I'm going to use another command here, and I'm going to put labor in for assembling the deck as well. And this one takes a little bit longer. I think it's 0.25 to assemble those. Okay. So I have a top level skateboard now that has a deck assembly that has some stuff underneath it. It has 2 truck assemblies. Each one has their own structure, and each one has labor accounted for there. Okay. And then finally, I know that a colleague in my company has actually built another BOM for all the packaging when we ship this product out. So I'm going to add a final item here, and I'm just going to include this packaging BOM. So each one of my skateboards that I ship out gets the packaging BOM. Now this was built by a colleague at my company. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so she took a little extra care to include some images. She's also included the costs and everything. So here's a great example of any skateboard. Maybe I build the Dash 2 of the skateboard. All I need to do is throw the packaging BOM in, and all of a sudden, all the individual parts, a warranty, foam insert, cardboard box, they're all automatically included in my BOM. This is the beauty of the multi-level structure. I'm going to simply add that packaging BOM to my skateboard. Okay, so we're back here to this cost. We've got the complete rolled up cost for our board here is at $49. So now the question becomes, what's the list of parts that I need of each individual one? Well, now we know that we don't have a lot of common parts across all of these, but we do have some labor in each one of those. So, sure, I could open up each one of these. I could maybe be the guy, the designer at the top saying, okay, this takes, 0.25 of an hour, and this one down here takes, some other amount, 0.15 of an hour. That could be screws, or it could be anything else that appear where the same item appears at multiple levels in your BOM. So in Excel or some other place, that's very hard to do. A pretty experienced macro writer to roll that up. In OpenBOM, all I need to do is switch to Flatten. Now when I get to Flatten, I see that Flatten does that automatic calculation and says I'm going to have 0.8 of an hour. I'm going to go ahead and switch to my Flatten view, and I'm going to see the quantity that I need for all these other things is accumulated here, and I've got 0.8 of an hour total. So you think about that when you're, when you've got a machine BOM that's got 1/4-20 screws, all over the place, and I need to know how many of those quarter 20 screws do I need to build one of these. So what I need here is I need 0.8 of an hour of labor in order to build one of these. So let's take a moment and let's just take a moment here and review. I'm going to switch back to my view off, and you can see the views are for showing your data in different representations. I'm trying to open two levels at the same time here. Let me refresh the browser. So let's take a quick moment to review. I'm going to jump back to our webinar here for just a moment, and let's jump into presentation mode. We are going to deal with this page in the next webinar. So let's take a review of what we've gone through so far and how to build multi-level BOMs. So we created a bill of material without a catalog, and we typed in the structure. This was, like I said, it was very academic, but this is the process that we went through. Next week, we're going to create a bill of material. Unfortunate typo there. We're going to create a bill of material. We're going to use a catalog, and we'll do some other information with part numbers. So we took advantage of OpenBOM's formulas. We created some an extended cost, and then we used Flatten to roll up all those items, including labor, and see what the total of each particular item that we needed in one view. So here's a couple of things I'd like you to keep in mind when you're troubleshooting, especially in multi-level BOM. First of all, am I in multi-level? You know, if I'm not seeing the plus signs and I'm expecting to make sure I'm in multi-level. When I'm adding a formula and I'm working in multi-level, be sure to use the option Add to All Sublevels. There's another webinar on properties and formulas that I'll put in the references that kind of gives some more details there. And you saw me make this mistake. When I'm adding a formula in multi-level, be sure that I add it at the top level. That way it can propagate down through all those individual BOMs. Some other things I'm going to let you read through some of these. But if you've deleted things, be sure to empty the trash. In some cases, we might be referencing still something that you've got in the trash. And I also want to point out that in multi-level, it is possible to create something we call a circular reference. And this is something you definitely want to avoid. It's just a logical problem. And here I could have, subassembly 1 referencing subassembly 2, which is then referencing subassembly 1. So that's a structure that can be created. Doesn't make any logical sense, and you may run into trouble. If you create something like this, we're going to give you a message that says we can't logically open this, and the best thing to do at that point is either edit or delete the top level offending bill of material. You'll know right away if you run into that problem. Okay, here's some references. These are going to be in the slide deck. There's our help has some great references on working with multi-level BOMs as well as Flatten. We didn't talk about it, but we can import multi-level BOMs with structure using the level column to indicate what position in the structure a particular item belongs. And then there's some other webinars. I just encourage you to take a look back at some of those. And of course, you can just always send us your questions to support. So support at openbom.com. It has been a pleasure, as it is always every week, spending some time with you. Again, look for part 2 of this either next week. I think we have something scheduled for next week, but maybe the week after we'll do part 2 of multi-level BOMs. Please send me your questions ahead of time. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day.